Jesus.
Hello, my name is Liz Stewart. I'm the president of the New Jersey Shade Tree Federation, and I'm here with Pam.
Hello, I'm the vice president of the New Jersey Shade Tree Federation this year, and we're doing another segment of Get to Know the Board. So Liz and I have been doing interviews with the other board members to kind of introduce the membership to all of the great minds that make up the board of the Shade Tree Federation. So tonight we have Josh Faas and Paul Cowie. We're really excited to hear what they have to say about the questions we have to ask. And so we're gonna get started by letting them introduce themselves and tell us all a little bit about who you are and what you do. So Paul, why don't you start?
Hi, I'm Paul Cowie. I'm a consulting arborist, and I own Paul Cowie Associates, which is a small consulting firm. We work with municipalities. We also work on with landscape architects on design teams, and we help out some green industry contractors.
All right, that's a lot of stuff.
Well, you know, keeps us busy.
Josh, how about you?
So my name is Joshua Faas. I've been with Plant Detectives Nursery for about 17 years. Graduated Rutgers in 08, and basically I deal a lot with municipalities, landscape architects, landscape contractors, pretty much procure plant material, anything from plug perennials all the way up to stuff as big as 7, 8, 9, 10-inch caliper trees. I've gotten some material for Paul and some of his projects before, and basically just gathering all plant material for bigger jobs, getting it all in one spot and shipping it easily so customers save some time and it just becomes way more effective.
Very cool. You work with the New Jersey Tree Foundation a lot too, right?
I do. I ship a lot of their trees anywhere from Camden, Newark, Jersey City, Highland Park. I mean, it's all over the state. And they do a lot of street tree plantings, a lot of 2-inch material. And in the fall, they do a lot of 25 and 30-gallon trees, which makes it a lot easier on the trees because they're not getting dug, they're not getting stressed out, and just make their lives easy. So
very cool. Liz, do you have a first question for our guests?
I do. I have a first question. So Josh, I'll ask you first. You kind of explained it in your introduction, but what is a typical day like for you? Maybe in the role of our membership, kind of like if you get an order from a community or municipality or a tree company, what does that day look like for you?
So basically we'll start with any tree company or landscape architect. They'll send me a plant list. I'll get the entire thing quoted or as much as I possibly can. We deal with so many growers from across the US that usually we can fill an entire project. Then it'll be just having them confirm pricing and then basically trying to build trucks from all over to procure, to grab the material as quickly as possible. And then they give me a time frame and we ship it on one of our trucks, get it unloaded, and they're good to go.
Sounds good.
Do a lot with, like, even with foundation, I actually physically tag a lot of their material just to make sure the grades are correct, the branching's correct, and just so we don't have any problems.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you always get the right specs from communities, or do you have to work with them to get to figure out what they really want?
A lot of the specs are usually correct because they've been doing it a long time. Sometimes we have to make just different options available. Certain trees can't be dug in the fall, so that's where container trees come in, or they'll spec something that's just not out there, like 5-inch sassafras. There's not a whole lot of people growing that tree, and you just got to make subs where you can and try to make everything work and everybody happy. And a lot of the shade tree boards in certain towns have certain tastes, and you just kind of gotta go with the flow at that point.
Cool. And both of you have Instagram accounts, like Plant Detectives has an Instagram. Paul, you have an Instagram account. I'm going to ask you what a typical day is like, but just looking at your Instagram account, it's not a typical day ever, probably.
Yeah, a day in the life.
A day in the life is like, yeah.
Yeah, you know, they're all different, and I think that's one of the things that I really like about it. You know, you don't really get into a rut. You know, there'd be some days where we're just we're meeting out at a site to inventory and evaluate a couple hundred trees. Other days we're meeting a contractor to either review work they're going to start or to evaluate work that they've completed. Lately, a lot of Zoom meetings, with design teams to go over, the current plans and provide some review and critique of what they're planning to do, and hopefully provide some, constructive criticism and some ideas to help make those designs a little bit better. Sometimes, like today, it's mostly just an office day of trying to catch up on things. I'm just realizing you can see my secret whiteboard behind me.
Always impressive.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes like today we made a shopping list. We need some folders and diameter tapes and safety vests.
No paper clips?
So it's it's a lot of doing the technical stuff, but in my case also running a business, which can get a little mundane, and sometimes you have to do it at night. Because you're out with the trees during the day.
Cool.
So, Paul,
Yeah.
if Josh was a tree, what kind of tree would he be and why?
He'd be like the prettiest tree there ever was. What kind of tree would Josh be? Oh my God. We should have previewed these questions.
I love it. I want to hear it now.
Yeah, he would be he just did the flex, so he would be a mighty oak, but a really nice one with its leaves just perfect, standing out in the field for everybody to adore.
All right. Josh,
Sorry.
if Paul was a tree, what kind of tree would he be and why?
I mean, he would be a Nissa wildfire, because look at him. He's a lot to handle.
Well, thank you.
No problem. I'm always here for you, buddy.
Thank you. That was fun for me.
But it was fun.
So you both work in kind of different parts of the industry, but you work together a lot. Do you have a pet peeve? Maybe Josh, will start with you. Do you have like a certain pet peeve in the tree industry or in your work that really kind of, you're like, why are people still doing that?
I mean, there's a couple. One of my biggest ones is a lot of just contractors that don't do this work a lot, and they think they can just hop on municipality projects, and they'll give you a plan list, and it could be 70, 80, 90, 100 trees. And you'll get it quoted out, and like, all right, well, when do you need this project for? And they'll be like, oh, well, I was hoping you had all this there, so I need it tomorrow. And you're like, this is not how this world works. Like, that's not going to happen. And another one is anyone who specs purple leaf plums. I mean, I guess that's a pretty simple one.
I never sent you one of those.
Paul, what is your pet peeve? If there's just one, or do you have a list of them?
Yeah, this is hard because I feel like there's a list, and I'm not sure who I might rub the wrong way. So I'm trying to be careful, I guess.
We use it as like an education.
I'm sorry?
We use it as like an education tool.
Yeah, I guess being I've been doing this for a while, I guess there's certain things that we all, they're sort of pet peeves for everyone, but so many years later, we're still talking about them and still doing the same thing. You know, like there's the mulching, proper mulching thing. I guess a lot of what Josh said too, of just sort of getting stuck on certain species and just using them to death. It was Norway maple at one point, it was honey locust at another point, Calvary pear, and quite frankly, I think now it's Zelkova. Just the amount of Zelkova going in, I think we're just sort of getting back to another version of one of the problems that we all complain about all the time about, the species diversity and all.
Yeah. I guess as a little follow-up, because you both work with, Josh, you get trees, and Paul, you do a lot of specs for trees. Are there trees that are underutilized that you really feel like, why aren't more people getting these trees that are available?
I would say, yeah, for sure. And it's things like Hop hornbeam. I've just been involved with a couple projects where those were used, and you look at it, you see that is a fantastic tree,
Yeah.
and it'll work on streets. And so for medium-sized tree, we're always looking for those, because at least here in North Jersey, we don't have a lot of place or a lot of space for larger street trees. And then, as opposed to getting stuck with the same small trees to go under wires or in small curb strips, like tree lilac is another one that I'm just getting a little tired of seeing. So yeah, Josh could reel off some better than I can, but hop hornbeam came to mind as just a really solid tree that we're just starting to see, becoming available now, really.
Yeah, and there's two sides. Like there's smaller maples, like trident maple or Acer campestri, like great. People hear maple and they get scared of the size, but those two are smaller size, mature sized maples that do great on street tree plantings. You see them thrive in certain towns that have decided to make that jump. I think a lot of towns, and now this might rub some people the wrong way, is a lot of towns are kind of just going, well, I want this new cultivar that the size isn't there, or it's just not readily available, and they won't budge. And I think some towns just need to be a little more, let's not go back to bases. Let's not plant 100 red maples, but we need some leeway sometimes, or I think a project gets halted because there's no leeway. And that's, I see that happening a lot.
So it's like important to have an alternative list almost.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, not replacing a Nisso with oh nope, it has to be pin oak. Like, no, just make it a way closer sub than that. But again, just a little more lenient on replacing some certain options. But again, taking it away from the norm, I think, is important.
Yeah.
And Foundation does a good job of that. You see them switch up things all the time. Like, oh, we're tired of planting red maples, either sugars or Nissa or bicolor oaks. That's one company that comes to mind that is trying to diversify the streets and just make things look different.
Yeah.
Cool. Good advice. So when you guys need to look something up or reference something, what are your favorite resources to go to for tree information?
I mean, I'll name drop. I mean, I use my boss Art Laster for a lot of the questions I have. I mean, anyone in this industry pretty much knows him or knows of him. He's been doing it a long time. He knows, if he doesn't know it, he'll tell me right off the bat he doesn't know it, and we'll reach out to another grower or another rep that's been, again, doing this as long as he has. I mean, even Paul Cowie, I would ask him. I mean, I've asked him questions before. If not, I mean, I'll use the cop-out answer of Google, but I mean, Art would be my number one source, just because he knows what he's talking about. And he's done a segment for our shade tree show as well.
Yeah, that was a great presentation last year. How about you, Paul?
Yeah, same thing. I've got to, second what Josh said, that, just having a really good network of people is just so important. Same thing. I'll call Josh, or I'll, talk to Art, or however, Jason Grabowski, I bug a lot. Just so many people that all have, their special knowledge set that, depending on what the question is, you get to the point where you know who to ask. So there's that. And then if you're thinking of, like actual, Josh said, Google is a cop-out, but quite frankly, yeah, there's so much online. I would just suggest, I think you need to be careful that whatever link comes up, that you're clicking on good authoritative links, the universities and so forth, as opposed to Joe's gardening website, so that you can rely on the information. As far as books, if you're talking about plant material, of course it's the Michael Durr book. But we've got their stacks sitting here, arboriculture, Richard Harris, if you want to sort of know all of the basics of arboriculture, on and on. Yeah, a great bookshelf is really important.
Nice.
So we were
Liz.
talking about tree types a little bit, and I get the next question is, do you want to make this a two-parter, Pam? I'll ask the first part and you ask the second.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So what is your favorite tree? Paul, we'll start with you.
Oh boy, it changes.
That's been the standard answer. Like it's, yeah.
Yeah. Oh boy. I think for a while, as an ornamental, Stewartia.
Come on.
In fact, was that your answer?
Yes.
See, we're the same.
Oh, you're
We are the same. I knew you would say it.
Yeah, I've been wanting to actually, since Josh is here, I've been wanting to get one for my yard.
I have one waiting for you.
All right, I'll drive down and see you one day.
There you go.
So yeah, that as far as like big trees, it's more, I can't say like an individual species. It's more about individual trees that are just kind of doing it right in a certain spot. So it really doesn't matter what the species is. It's just how that tree is doing it. As long as it's not purple leaf plum.
Yeah.
I don't know how purple leaf plum ended up getting bashed here tonight. I don't know.
Listen,
It's not usually
wasn't
the,
here to
You
represent
started
itself, so I did. You're absolutely right. Someone needed to.
okay, so nice segue into the part 2 of this 2-part question is, what is your favorite individual tree? So we all established Stewartia as the favorite species, but like an individual tree that you feel like you have some kind of connection to, like that one tree that you really like.
like a tree that you've met and like Paul said, like there's a tree in a certain, like if that you just a memory of a tree or something.
So that's for Josh.
We'll start with Josh, right?
I've never asked that question before.
I've met so many trees.
I've met a lot of trees. I meet a lot of trees every day.
There's gotta be something that inspired you at some point or something.
I mean, I really don't know. It might be, I mean, it could be at any point. So I would say I have some.
Is there a buzzer if he doesn't get the answer out in a certain amount of time?
I have 3 Styrex evening light here that I planted for the wedding, and I feel like that would that kind of means something to me. They're always going to be special to me, and along with all the other trees I planted here and all the pictures, it's going to be nice to see everything grow. And just remember when we bought the house, planted these trees, and watching Sophia grow and us grow, and just seeing those kind of grow in the background with it. I don't think that's a bad answer.
That's a great answer.
Great answer, very cool.
Go ahead, Paul.
Oh, I have to answer that. You didn't answer the
Well, you
part
stole
one.
mine. I was going to say Acer Gristium as my backup, but they didn't ask me what my backup was.
Oh, sorry.
All right, so I'm answering the what was it? The tree I'm most attached to? That's another tough one. I don't know if I can do it with one tree. So there's a magnolia tree, a saucer magnolia in our backyard that I planted early on when we had the house. And sort of, again, same thing, kind of grew up with the kids. But I live in Sussex County, and it was probably a poor choice because it's only about, every 4 years where we don't get a freeze when the buds are just starting to open. So all the petals just fall off. And then it got really busted up in a storm. Had to do a lot of structural pruning on it, still working on it. But still, despite that, I still really like that tree. There's another one. It's like sort of a new attachment to a tree that I have, a tree that I met recently. We were hiking up at Wallkill River National Wildlife area, way up north by the New York state line in Sussex County. And we're just walking around past the water and so forth, and just kind of went around this bend, and there was this big open meadow and this giant white oak just sitting out there. giant, to the point where I made my wife go back a week or two later with all my tools so that I could measure it, because I think it might make the big tree list in New Jersey, and it's not currently on there. But, you know, 90-foot spread, 85 feet tall, 58-inch diameter. And it's just, I said earlier, you know, a tree just sort of doing it right. This tree is just sitting out there in the middle of nowhere with nothing else around it, just all on its own. And I got pretty attached to that tree.
Cool. Very nice.
Way better answer.
Yours was fine.
All right, fine. Thank you. I appreciate it.
There's no wrong answers when it comes to trees, except if you're a purple leaf plum.
Exactly.
Don't be a purple leaf plum.
I'm getting us all shirts. No plum, no purple leaf plums.
I'll turn off the comments for this video so we don't get
Yeah.
bad, like a purple leaf plum lover. Sorry.
Josh has to resign from Federation.
Well, I think that's all the questions for now, right?
Yeah.
Thank you both for joining us. And
Of
if
course.
you know, both Paul and Josh are usually at the Federation conference. You've probably seen them before or been taught by them or stopped by the booth. And both of you have websites and Instagram accounts, right? So
Yep.
plantdetectives.com, I guess, and
Yes.
Paul Cowie
Plants Tech-
Associates.com. Yeah.
And Paul will be speaking at this year's conference.
Yes.
Woo, woo.
That's right, he will.
Yeah.
You as well.
Very cool title to your lecture.
Yeah, we'll see.
Be cool. Can't wait.
Well,
I got to
thanks
work
so
on that.
much for doing this tonight.
Thank you.
Of course.
Great. We'll see you all at the conference.
Love it.
Yay.
All right. Have
Bye.
a good night.
Bye.